Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. In this video I'm finally going to do the comparison thing I was talking about between Street Fighter Duel and AFK Arena to basically show you why people say it's basically the same game, right? But I'm not just doing that to show you that the games are the same. The reason I'm doing it is once you've seen the comparisons, you'll understand that we can basically use AFK Arena to a certain extent to more or less predict some of the things that we might see in game. You may be surprised at just how much these games are like each other. In some ways it's like actual plagiarism, but we'll get to that as we're going through it. So I'm going to start off with the more simple things, and then we can talk about some of the new additions that have come to Street Fighter Duel and where they're kind of originated from, and then we can take a look at potentially what we could expect to see in the future in Street Fighter Duel. Okay, so because it's difficult for me to hook two phones up, or in fact I can't do it to my Elgato, I'm using stills of Street Fighter and I'm using the live game on AFK. So the reason you're not seeing the Street Fighter image moving is because it's a picture. So let's start off with the more simplistic things, okay? So if we look at the characters there, you can see this is Street Fighter Duel's character selection. We know it's not a selection, but character box, whatever. So we know our top rarity is triple S, okay? Then underneath that, we've obviously got our double S, which is red, and you can see the red there. Below that, we've got S, which is gold, and then purple, which is our A rank, okay? It's literally the exact same. Even the colouring system is exactly the same. So in AFK, you can see the top rank is Awakened, and that is your silver, okay? The rank below that, which would be our double S, is the red units, red, just like ours. The one below that is gold, just like Street Fighter, and the one below that is purple. Literally exactly the same. So even aesthetically, they've kind of copied everything that AFK was doing with relation to that. So the next one we can take a look at is going to be the way that you awaken characters. When it comes to awakening characters, again, the same thing. You go into here, you can select the faction you want to awaken at the bottom, and Street Fighter, you do it at the top, and it costs identical. Like the awakening system going through, it's the same. At certain points, you'll have to use 2 copies of a unit awakened to be able to raise up the star level. Apart from the special rarities, you can use other characters from within the same faction, but on the special rarities, which are these two here, you can only use the same faction type, or the same character actually. So it's exactly the same as Master and Inferno. And the thing is as well, if you actually pay attention, I mentioned to you already about colouring and things like that, and kind of iconography, about like similar looking icons, etc. If you notice here, just with the colouring and style, these are very similar to Master and Inferno characters, even down to the colouring of the symbols. They've kind of gone with the exact same vibe over on Street Fighter. Now, if we move on to the next one, that's going to be our leveling system. So the limit break system. When you're in here, you at first start off with like a monument where you've got a certain number of characters. You raise those characters up. Once you hit level 240, that disappears and you just level the group of units in their entirety. Well, surprise, surprise, that's exactly the same in here. You started off in here with a bunch of units, you leveled them up to 240. Once you hit that point, you then jumped over, and at that point, rather than leveling the characters, you would just level the entire group, okay? Making it, again, exactly the same. It was exactly the same thing. There was no change, not even kind of aesthetically trying to change it a little bit, okay? So if we go to the next one, which is involving me deleting these slides as I go. This is the Fighting Heart system. Obviously in Fighting Heart, you level up the middle section. Once you've leveled that up, you can then use your gems to level up the individual traits. Would you be surprised to know that if you go to the library in here, you've got the Elder Tree, which is the exact same thing. You level up the middle, which will level up a few key stats, which is HP, defense, and attack. Funnily enough, it's exactly the same as Street Fighter. And then from there, you would go on and level up the individual elements to give them boosts to your character types. Again, very much not even similar. It is very much the exact same thing, right? So if we delete this one and move on to the next one, anyone who's played AFK Arena knows all this stuff already, but a lot of you haven't. A lot of you, like, they're new to this. You haven't played these type of games before. So the next one is the towers, okay? And this is actually going to be the first one where we can kind of future predict what we're going to get in Street Fighter because of this. So in this, you've got your standard tower. Once you get your standard tower to a certain point, it then opens up the factional towers. Would you be surprised to know that that exact same thing originated here? You have the King's Tower, you beat that to a certain point, then you opened up the World Tree, the Tower of Light, the Brutal Citadel, and the Forsaken Necropolis. And once you got them to a certain point, you then opened up these two here, which was the Celestial Tower and the Infernal Tower. Now, at this point, this is when you actually really cross over, and you would expect to see the same thing in Street Fighter. We will get 100%, it's going to happen. We will get the same thing. We will get a Master's Tower, and we will get an Infernal Tower. Do you know what I just actually realised? In Street Fighter, the faction's actually called Infernal. It's purple, it's got the same name, it's literally exactly the same. So we will get this. This is probably one of the next things that's going to be added. They did wait a long time actually to add it into AFK. I don't think that's going to happen in Street Fighter. I think we will get this very early in the game's life cycle, and it is one of the next big things that I expect us to get added in game, especially if they drop Sagat. If Sagat happens, then I do think this is going to happen sooner rather than later, okay? So, let's move on and look at the next one, shall we? So, the next one we're going to look at is going to be the World Expeditions. Again, very much the exact same thing as you get in what's called Peaks of Time, and it's our historic ventures. You complete these stages. By completing these stages, you get various things that are what we would call our fighting souls. Basically, exactly the same thing. In here, however, is one of the most blatant displays of plagiarism that I've seen to date. And it actually is in this stage here. I believe I can do it and show you. If you have played World Expeditions, you know that there's a level that takes place within the volcanic levels, and every time you beat a stage, your characters lose a lot of HP, to the point where after you've completed 2 stages, you need to heal to be able to really continue, or you're running the risk of dying. This is exactly the same. This level is literally the exact same thing. So I'm going in here, I have got full HP, and I win the battle. Awesome. After the battle, and it will say my heroes are exhausted from the battle. If I have a look, they've now all lost a load of HP. One more battle will basically leave me to the point where I'm needing to heal. That is literally the exact same level. So not only did they kind of take the idea, they pretty much beat for beat copied the level, which I personally find a little bit insane, to be completely honest. Now, I don't have a screenshot on Street Fighter, but that is these things. Although this is a special one, we'll talk about this one in a minute. If I go to maybe you, not you, not you. One of them will have a normal one. One of them will have a normal one. You, nope. Somebody. There we go. Gives you these more normal style artifacts, right? And you can level them up and add more people in. You know, it's the same thing. You've seen it, right? So the second one we're going to look at, that again is quite bordering on, I want to say, plagiarism a little bit, is going to be our inverse world. Again, the inverse world is something that pretty much has been taken from here, and it's the Trial of Gods, right? Now, the reason I say that it's a bit almost like plagiarism is if you actually take a look in here, you'll notice that they, in a lot of ways, almost identically copy the icons. I mean, if you've played this mode, you'll recognise a lot of these icons are almost identical to what you get in this stage. Not only that, if you actually look up here, you can see the rewards, and it works out that you get normal fodder up till around about here, and then up to level, I think it was 12. That's where you would unlock your new artifact type thing. Everything about it's the same. Then it's a case of going further at the level, you'll be able to level up your artifact right up to the point where you get to the end, and then you can get a couple of extra items. Again, not only is it like the icons that they've kind of copied, it's more or less the entire structure of it, right? So in a lot of ways, you could almost say that Street Fighter is like a modified version of AFK Arena, which is kind of mad when you think about it. So the next two things are the most recent additions to Street Fighter Duel. First up is the Satsu mode that was added to Shadow City. If we go and look here, it's the Arcane Labyrinth. Now I've done this, right? I've done the Arcane Labyrinth, so I can't really show you this. But when you go into this, you can choose one of two modes. The second mode opens up once you've cleared the standard mode 30 times, which is exactly how you unlock Satsu mode in Street Fighter Duel. When you're in this mode as well, as you progress, you are offered up portals that you can travel through, and when you get to clear stage 2, you get the opportunity to go into a gold portal, which takes you to hard mode, which again is exactly the same as Street Fighter. Even the look and the colouring of the portals are identical, right? Everything about like stage 3 is exactly the same as you travel through. You've got a special stage where you can get different rewards tokens to use in the shops, and basically we have that with the cat. It's again, it's the same thing, right? There's absolutely no differences there. So this was one of the most recent modes that was copied, and it now exists in Street Fighter Duel. And we have one other mode that was copied that we have in Street Fighter Duel as well, which is this mode here, the Path of Trials. Now the Path of Trials also, believe it or not, exists here. It's called the Misty Valley. You go into the Misty Valley, you basically, depending on how far you are in the game, you fill up your chest. You select different items that you want to get when you clear this, okay? And the way that you beat stages is you do specific things. Win the battle, win with 4 specific faction types, all heroes placed on the back row must be support characters. So it's the same thing as this, you know, it's like, here's a stage, here's a medium challenge, and here's a hard challenge. Do it all, get all the points, get to the end, and then you can redeem all the rewards from the chest. So this is the most recent thing that we've had that is more or less a straight copy of something in AFK Arena. So what does this all mean? Well, this all means that there is a very strong possibility that a lot of the other things that we are going to now get in Street Fighter Duel, we can probably ascertain from here, right? So there is a couple of things that I think we will get. There's a couple of things that I hope we will get. And then there's a couple of things that I don't understand why they won't copy, right? It's simple as that. If you're going to copy all this, then why not just copy the rest of the stuff, right? So first of all, if we go and look at summons, you'll see there is 3 different types of summons. The standard summons, which also has factional summons. So again, we have that. Then there's the Stargazing Room, which is identical to Divination, exact same thing. The only difference is this has pity every 6 summons. Copy that, please, Street Fighter. At this point, just do it. The Temple of Time, which is basically the special summon, that's what that is. It's basically the same as our limited summon. Again, it has 6 pity on it, so if you're going to do that, give us the pity, because you've clearly copied this element, so just copy the next element as well. It makes sense, just do it. So I think they might do it, right? This is one of the ones I'm a bit, I think they might do it. They've copied these systems, copy the rest of it. At least that way you're not kind of doing a half-assed job, basically. So They have another thing in here called beasts, right? Now, I didn't take screenshots of everything, but if I go to this oak inn, right, this inn is vehicles, right? That's what it is. It's vehicles. You can unlock additional passives and bonuses and stuff. It's literally the vehicle system, right? But they do have this thing here called beasts, right? This is something that can really boost you up. You can collect these beasts. These beasts will give you bonuses, buffs, healing, all that type of stuff, do more damage. I think they probably will implement this in Street Fighter. It's just how they do it, I'm not sure. Because obviously beasts won't work, so maybe it will be like bans or something like that. I mean, I'm trying to think logically of what they could do. Tag units or something. But this is monetized as well, you know. I mean, you can earn a lot of this currency, to get these units for free. So, I mean, whether we can expect that in Street Fighter, I don't know. But if they can monetize it, they'll certainly bring it out. So I think we will probably get some kind of beast equivalent added to the game. It's just when is what I'm not sure about. But for things that I think we actually probably can hopefully expect maybe fairly soon, you know, we've got this thing here which is something that a lot of people like. It's temporal rift basically, and what happens is you essentially enter it with various different teams, you get various different bonuses, and it's almost like I don't want to say it's an endless mode, but it's like a rolling tower mode where it will take your box, it will boost your box up to a certain level, so you probably can punch a little bit above your weight, you'll get very good rewards, but it gets increasingly more difficult as you progress. It's different from the factional towers, and it really is an avenue for free-to-play players and yes, non-free-to-play players to access a load of different rewards. Like these are units who are in that special summon. You can literally just earn a copy through doing this type of stuff. You can get loads of items to level up your characters in your box and stuff. So a mode like this would obviously be very good to add to Street Fighter, and I think they probably will. How they implement it with a Street Fighter spin, I don't know, but I feel like we probably will get something like this added in the future. Another thing that I think we'll probably get added in the future, but how they do it, I'm not so sure. I mean, if we go to Treasure Scramble, this is it here. This is like an AFK constant battler. So you set your teams and you walk away basically. You walk away, and every time you log back in after a certain amount of time, you'll have more rewards. You'll go up a ladder, it'll push you into a different bracket based on your performance, and you'll get more and more rewards, and you can see like a sort of a breakdown of how your teams are performing, and based on how your teams are performing you can then go in and make edits. So I can see right now that my team 3 is possibly not doing enough for me, so if I come out and I go to adjust your formation, I've already modified that team 3, it's just not got any results yet to show me how it's doing, right? So hopefully when I go back in tomorrow, I'll be able to see that, excellent, it's done well, it's pushed me up to the top 16, top 12, whatever, right? And I'll get more rewards based on that. So hopefully we can get something like that added to Street Fighter as well, because it's more to do, and it's basically more for players to sink their teeth into. I mean, there's loads of things in here that they could potentially add, basically. What I would like to see them adding is when you look at things like your special characters, so these are your collab characters, they are legends, right? You link them to another unit and you copy that unit, right? So it's the same as legends in our game. You'll notice that I wasn't playing this game when Overlord was out, but I have 2 Overlord units in my box, okay? That is because there's a system in here called the Garrison. Basically what happens in the Garrison is you can get these stones, and the way you get these stones is by playing the game basically, right? And when you play the game you can get all your tokens. So we have these tokens, this is like the equivalent of our dismissal points, our city points, our honor points and that type of thing. You can spend these and trade them for these stones, and with these stones you can basically rent one of these off your friends for an entire month, and the unit becomes your unit basically. You use it like your unit, you do everything, you level that unit, it's essentially your unit, right? But once you have rented the character 6 times, you can rent it unlimited for free basically. You won't have to use these stones anymore. So in essence, you can get these collaboration units that are not available to you anymore, and you can basically own them because you will have unlimited access to them for free. And again, you level them, you put the investment into them, it's not your friend's unit. So that means you're not one and done. You can't just use them one time to pass content and then not use them again. You can use them as much as you want, okay? So this is something I would really like to see them add to Street Fighter. Will they though? I don't know, because they have taken the concept of collab units being legendary units and kind of changed that. So unless they allowed you to borrow every unit, then I don't know how it would work in Street Fighter. And the difficult thing is, like I said, you treat these units like your units. So when you've got one of these, you have to link that to another unit to get it up to the star level. So it only really works with legends, because if you get a different unit, so for example, using Street Fighter as an example, if you took Akuma, how are you going to get more copies of Akuma to raise the level of that Akuma up? So it could only possibly work with legends. So will it come to Street Fighter? I don't think so, honestly, but I feel like it should, because it's one of those more free-to-play friendly things that they could add to the game. There's loads of stuff here. I mean, I could sit and go through it all, but this video is already too long, right? I mean, there's just reams and reams of stuff that we could get in Street Fighter if they're just going to continue to copy things from AFK Arena. The only thing that I ask is, if they're going to copy the good gameplay parts, then also implement the more free-to-play friendly parts. There's a reason why AFK has been successful, and it's because it walks a good balance between free-to-play accessible and pay-to-play friendly. You know, it's like a combination of the two. You as a player over there can literally earn the units that are collab units for free. It'll just take you a while. Whereas in Street Fighter, they've not copied those things. They've not copied pity. So it's like I was going to say, it's almost like they've done the whole, I'll copy your homework, but I'll change it a little. As I've shown you, a lot of times they don't even change it a little. But what they seem to have changed is taking away the more free-to-play friendly and the more player-focused things that is available in AFK. So my hope for Street Fighter is, if they're going to continue down this path, that they will implement the more player-focused, player-centric things that we all want to see happen in this game. Anyway guys, that is it. I could probably have went a bit deeper, but I'll be completely honest, there's modes in AFK that I haven't opened back up yet since I started playing, so there probably is even more things that we can expect down the line to come. This is where in this game a lot of people get the currencies to get these harder to reach units, and I'm hoping that that is what's going to start happening in Street Fighter, so I'll keep my fingers crossed for it and we'll see. But the prediction I have right now is the next couple of things that I expect us to probably get in here would be the towers, so the Inferno and obviously the Master Tower. I would expect us to get that, and I'm not sure exactly how they're going to implement it, but I'm thinking we will probably end up seeing something like this treasure scramble or this temporal rift. I do think that is the next kind of bits of content we're likely to see popping up. There is one other thing that would be great if they could implement, but will it happen? I don't know. And it's this thing here, it's called Legacy of Grit. Basically, you can take a unit you might not be using anymore. So I'll just use this as an example. Let's say this is a copy of Gen, right? 5-star SS5 Gen, right? Let's just say that's who that is. And you've just pulled the new Akuma, right? The new Akuma. You can do this, select Akuma, and basically what happens is this has got like a percentage chance. You do get scrolls where you're guaranteed it, but you can't use these special units. But for like the two, which is our equivalent of Master and Inferno, you need to use this Legacy of Grit. But basically what it would do is it would transfer the awakening level, weapon, everything that is based around the character on the left and transfer it to the character on the right. So if you had, say, 16 copies into the unit on the left and only 1 copy of the unit on the right, if you were successful, by the end of it, what would happen is the unit on the left would have 1 copy and all the investment would transfer over to the unit on the right, meaning that your old redundant units can give life to your new units without you having to summon an absolute bunch. That would be awesome and people would love that. Will they add that? Doubtful, but hopefully we can hope. Anyway guys, that is this full and complete and probably only time that I will ever do this video, but I've got to say, for everyone who says Street Fighter is literally just a reskin or a copy of AFK Arena, I've just shown you that they're probably telling the truth if we're being completely honest. Hey, I love Street Fighter, I love the game, but I must admit I also really like AFK Arena now as well, so you can have both and you can enjoy both. I just hope that Street Fighter, if they're going to continue doing this, they just embrace the better parts that would be more rewarding for players as well. Anyway guys, I've been Hayzink, this has been a long video and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.